Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're all about cutting through the noise, getting right to the core of, well, fascinating topics. And today we are plunging into one of Western folklore's most properly chilling urban legends. Bloody Mary, you know the one. Dark room, mirror chanting the name, that's like haunted sleepovers for ages. This ritual, it's been part of childhoods for decades, but why? Why has this specific legend stuck around so powerfully?
And that's really our mission today, isn't it? We're going to try and peel back the layers of this whole eerie tale. We'll explore its origins, which are, frankly, pretty surprising, maybe even unsettling, and crucially, why it still grabs us. We want to get beyond just what the legend is to understand why it works, why it affects us so much.
Okay, so the big question then, where does this unsettling figure actually come from? Let's try and trace its root.
Well, looking at the sources, it seems Bloody Mary isn't just one single story. It's more like a fusion, a chilling mix of deep human fears, and maybe some historical bits too. The first angle, and it's a strong one, is how it seems to draw on real history, or at least perceived history. Some theories link the legend straight to Mary I of England, Bloody Mary.
Right, from the 16th century, the one known for burning Protestants.
Exactly. She got that grim nickname for a reason. And her life, it was marked by real tragedy, desperate for an heir, multiple miscarriages, immense political pressure. You can almost imagine the fear she inspired, the hushed stories. It's a pretty compelling idea that maybe her image twisted over time into this ghost in the mirror.
That's fascinating how real suffering kind of morphs into folklore like that. But does that explain the mirror? Is the Bloody Mary figure tied to older mirror superstitions, or do they just sort of combine?
Yeah, you've hit on something really key there. Because beyond the history, the legend taps into something maybe even more primal, our ancient, sometimes uneasy relationship with mirrors. Across so many cultures, mirrors weren't just glass, they were linked to the supernatural.
Like windows to the soul or something?
Kinda, yeah. Or even portals. Folklore is packed with stories of ghosts or spirits using mirrors as, like, gateways. Think about that old tradition covering mirrors when someone died, to stop the soul getting trapped.
Oh, right, I've heard of that.
So the Bloody Mary ritual forcing you to stare into a mirror, in the dark, it plugs right into those deep, maybe universal fears about reflections and what might lie beyond them.
Wow, so it's setting the psychological stage before anything even happens. Okay, but here's the real deep dive bit for me. The part that explains why it feels real. I always just figured it was a scary story, pure and simple. But you're saying there's actual, science behind seeing things in the mirror.
Absolutely. And this, for many people, is the real aha moment in understanding Bloody Mary. It involves something called the Troxler fading effect, or Troxler's effect. Basically, scientifically, your brain is wired to filter out unchanging information, especially visual stuff in low light.
Okay.
So when you stare really intently at your own face in a dim mirror, your brain starts to kind of ignore the stable parts of your reflection. It blanks them out. And then your features can seem to distort, shift, melt, even look like they're morphing into something else, something maybe monstrous or ghostly.
Right before your eyes.
Exactly. And this effect gets way stronger if you're already tense or scared or suggestible, which is precisely the state you're in when you're chanting Bloody Mary in the dark. It makes the experience feel incredibly, undeniably real, even though it might just be your own brain doing weird stuff.
So, I'm basically scaring myself silly with my own face.
That's quite a twist on a ghost story.
Yeah.
But hang on, if it's largely psychological, this Troxler thing, why hasn't that just killed the legend off? Surely kids at sleepovers aren't thinking about perceptual fading.
You're right. It's definitely more than just the science. It hangs on for a few really powerful reasons. First, for loads of kids and teens, it absolutely is that classic rite of passage. Testing your nerve at sleepovers.
Yeah, the bravery test.
It's that perfect mix of a dare, finding something out, and that shared fear that kind of bonds everyone. And beyond that, let's be honest, pop culture has kept Bloody Mary alive and kicking constantly.
Yeah, movies, TV shows.
Totally. It's everywhere. Not just the big horror films, but shows like Supernatural used her, countless YouTube challenges, TikToks now, indie horror. This constant exposure keeps reinventing her for new generations, keeps her in our collective headspace. So ultimately, it's this enduring blend, primal fear, our own curiosity, that lure of mystery. It just keeps appealing to people. It's sort of timeless. It really makes you think, doesn't it, about how our minds work. That pull towards the unknown, even if we're partly creating it ourselves. So what does all this mean for the ghost herself, for Bloody Mary?
Well, it means that while there's really no solid evidence for a literal ghost named Mary haunting mirrors, The legend is incredibly real and powerful. It thrives because it plugs directly into our shared psychology. It's less about an actual spirit, maybe.
And more about us.
Exactly. More about the power of suggestion, how perception can be shaped, and, yeah, how tricky our own minds can be sometimes. It shows how fear and belief work.
Right. It's a powerful combo.
Which, it does raise one final important question for you listening. Knowing what you've learned now about suggestion, about how your own mind can play tricks in the dark, would you dare to stand in front of a mirror tonight and say her name?